Now, the Auditor General of South Africa, Tsakani Maluleke, last week announcing that only 38 municipalities across the country received clean audits for the 2021-2022 financial year. This is out of a total of 257, by the way. The coalition governments, the lack of oversight and accountability are just some of the reasons that municipalities continue to fail in delivering services to communities. Well, let's speak more about what we can expect from the City of Gold, Johannesburg, as the State of the City address will be delivered today by the Mayor. Let's speak now to Wayne Sussman. He knows all things that's got to do with the municipalities and the state of health of these municipalities. Wayne, thank you for coming to studio. Let's begin with the City of Johannesburg. Let's perhaps tackle the man. He has been surrounded by controversy, whether it be people claiming that he defrauded them or allegations surrounding his educational qualifications. As he takes the podium today at some point, do you think that is going to be weighing heavily on him, or it's just politics?
If we go back to since the time the new mayor was elected and he replaced his party colleague Kabelo Gwamanda, I think the leader of Johannesburg, who has been in the spotlight the most since Mayor Kabelo Gwamanda became mayor, was the acting mayor, Kenny Kunene, when Mayor Gwamanda went to the city of Cape Town for a mayoral gathering. And I don't know if you remember, Mayor Kunene went around roughhousing people, went around looking at illegal buildings and illegal occupation of buildings, illegal electricity connections, etc. Mayor Gwamanda, besides for those negative things you've alluded to, has hardly been in the spotlight. And I think that might be deliberate, because we know that Mayor Kabelo Gwamanda got off to the wrong start. He made grandiose promises, grandiose commitments, which his coalition partners weren't aware of, and he was found wanting. So I think Mayor Gwamanda has been preparing for today and wants to allay the fears of residents, of some of his party colleagues and coalition partners, and today is a critical speech for him.
The residents of Johannesburg could not be bothered about the mayor's controversies. For the people here, it's about the delivery of services. What are some of the critical areas that he has got to touch on, but he has to go beyond the words? They've actually got to be fixed.
Great question. The mayor leads a city with a 70 billion rand budget. That is quite a lot more than I'd imagine a number of other African countries or other countries around the world. This is a significant job. This is the economic powerhouse of South Africa. But the mood of investors, the mood of the residents is at a very low point right now. So he'll understand that he'll need to give the residents of the city, whether they are in Protea Glen or in Parkhurst, whether they are in informal settlements or in the inner city, he needs to give the residents confidence today that he and his coalition can turn the ship around with regards to electricity, with regards to water, with regards to the collection of revenue, with regards to the safety of the residents here, and of course the condition of our roads.
With all of that said, Wayne, you've got to factor in the collapsing infrastructure. It's a major problem, and municipalities now are, I don't know if they are starting to wake up to it, or it's just that they have been aware, but it's simply got to do with eating or feeding at the trough, as the saying would go. Why am I saying this? Tshwane is in a mess right now, and we cannot underestimate the impact of that, and it is shown by the cholera outbreak. Johannesburg has got to make sure that we don't find ourselves in the exact same position that Tshwane finds itself in. So, infrastructure, where do things stand as far as the outlook in Johannesburg?
Yeah, I think you raise a very important point there. We understand about the cholera outbreak of Hammanskraal, and it's not just a story about cholera outbreak, it's also about a story about our public hospitals,
right,
that they weren't able to deal with people who test positive for cholera. And then we see that this is now in another part of Gauteng, cholera, that we're hearing stories that it's in the Mfuleni municipality. Johannesburg's in the middle there. We have to make sure that our infrastructure is well looked after. We have to make sure that we are retaining civil servants who have the skills to make sure that we do not have a repeat of the cholera outbreak we're seeing in other parts of Gauteng here. Because this is absolutely devastating. We shouldn't be losing people to cholera in 2023. We shouldn't be having people who are wearing yellow reflective vests marshalling traffic instead of traffic police or instead of pointsmen from companies in 2023. And this is a big opportunity for the mayor today to take the residents into his confidence and tell them that he and his coalition partners, which I'll remind the viewers is the ANC, the EFF, Al-Jamaa and the Patriotic Alliance, can turn the city around.
We're going to talk about the state of the coalition government in the city of Joburg. One of the MMCs interviewed by my colleague this morning and trying to really show up this coalition as being on solid ground. We're going to get to that in a moment. The Auditor General said something that has stuck with me for some time now, and that is that these municipalities, part of the reason that they are failing is that they will announce a project, yet there is no money for that project. These are unbudgeted for. And therefore you start seeing the results as to the financials, because that was not budgeted for, and therefore it has come and completely messed up the economic or the finances of the municipality. Johannesburg, do you think it's on the same boat? And what could be some of the issues or some of the projects that are unbudgeted for?
So look, revenue collection is absolutely critical, and this is why it's not just a platitude and a statement, a platitude, but basically investors matter. If you have an investor coming in, setting up shop, who's going to be paying rates and taxes, who's going to be paying revenue into the city coffers, then the city can do more. So it's absolutely key that business is a stakeholder over here, that investors want to invest in the city of Johannesburg, feel that their infrastructure will hold for the next 10, 20, 30 years, for the next 10 to 20 to 30 years. Investors want to have a long-term orientation. And that is going to be key. We also know that there are certain parts of the city where revenue collection isn't up to scratch. So if you want to do those grandiose projects, if Mayor Gwamanda wants to establish himself not just as the mayor of the city of Johannesburg, but do great for Al-Jamaa and do great for the coalition, he has to make sure that he's got the money to spend on those projects. Otherwise, we'll continue to see unmanned robots, unfilled potholes, and refuse in certain parts of the city not collected. Very
briefly, we have less than a minute left. The coalition, is it on solid ground, as one MMC said this morning, or, again, it's just one of those political platitudes?
Well, the coalition, one of the major cheerleaders for the coalition is the Speaker of the Council, Colleen Makubele. She has been very bullish with Mayor Ahmad. She's been quite critical of the new mayor and the MMCs for their absenteeism. So it's going to be key that they show a united front, that the ANC, the PA, the EFF, Al-Jamaa, COPE all work together, and I think they'll be fine for the time being, but today is a critical moment for the mayor.
Wayne Sussman, a local government expert, thank you very much for putting us in the picture there. We'll let you go for the time being, but I suspect we may call on you again to help us analyze what the mayor has had to say today.